Don Lund, Associate Athletic Director, is with us, but we were going to get Don Canham for a while about that schedule with Stanford, Baylor, and Missouri, but you said you liked it.
Yeah, I do like it. I wish we had done better in the Stanford and the Baylor game, but I thought it was an excellent preseason schedule, and but I'm glad it's over.
You couldn't have done better as far as people are concerned. You put 100,000 people in the stadium for every game. What is that worth to the university?
Well, what we do, we split it with the other school that's come in, or unless we have a specific agreement with them. For example, instead of going down and play at Duke, where we didn't make any money several years ago and had quite a problem, we guaranteed them X amount of money, like $100,000 to come to our place. So we'll realize, you know, a couple $100,000 or more from a ball game like that.
If you can fill the stadium, you'll get around a couple 100,000. I
would say that, maybe a little bit more. I can't give you the exact figure, Larry.
It's cut down because the student tickets don't cost as much as the...
That's correct. It's divided and split, and we split it with the other school. For example, Missouri will take a nice check home from Michigan.
Is that why you can get schools to come up here and play? And you end up with more home games than away games?
For years, you know, Indiana used to always come to Ann Arbor until they built their new stadium. They only sat 25,000 people, and so consequently we'd always play them in Ann Arbor. But now some of the other schools have got a little larger stadiums and so on, and our future schedule is set, by the way, through 1990.
1990. Is there a way to shorten that up so you can get better matchups?
Well, there really isn't, because it's just a premium. In other words, people like to play us, trying to schedule who. Who do we schedule? We go to places like the coast, get to California, we've got Kansas on our schedule, we got Texas A&M, Notre Dame comes on in 1978. Bo said he didn't know whether he'd be around at that time. I'm sure he will.
Ira said he wouldn't be around.
That's right.
And he's not.
Do you know favors with that at scheduling Notre Dame every year? Except it'll be a draw.
Well, it'll be tough. There isn't any question about it. But I think that's a very interesting matchup, don't you?
Oh, certainly.
By 1983, what they're going to do is go on a round-robin schedule in the Big Ten, in which we'll have two non-conference foes. And as I say, we start in '78 with Notre Dame and missed them a couple years, but we're set with them through '90.
Where does the money go then? You don't use it all for football, do you?
No, we get into our other sports. Basically, our football controls everything. We do have what we consider our revenue sports as basketball and hockey, and then the rest of the sports, such as baseball.
A little close to your heart.
Very close to my heart. Tennis and girls field hockey and gymnastics and track and all of those type sports that we have. We have 12 sports. You take track and divide that as indoor and outdoor.
Could you have these other sports if you didn't have the revenue from football?
I would say we could have the sports, but we wouldn't have them on the basis that we have them now. And I think that traditionally we've had excellent luck in our sports, and I think Don Canham has done a great job of carrying on with a well-rounded type program. But this is basically the revenue to be able to budget these sports comes through football. And I know when I was on the coaching staff, I appreciated the fact of the great job that the coaches did, and we tried to do everything we could to cooperate, and then also do our job to carry on, as I say, the tradition that baseball has had through fellows like Ray Fisher and fellows like Van Oosterbaan, who did coach basketball, Ernie McCoy, fellows like that carried on. So this is the type of thing that we hope we can keep going. You know, they had that meeting in Chicago, which was a revenue meeting, an economic meeting, and they tried to resolve a few of the things, but it wasn't 100% perfect, but I think it was leading towards some of the things they're trying to do, to be able to keep the non-revenue sports going and also keep the fine quality that you have in the revenue sports, such as football.
You're starting to draw people for gymnastics, though, aren't you?
Yes, gymnastics is very popular in the East. It's also very popular in places like Iowa. And then with Newt Loken's enthusiasm, we've been able to draw at our place.
But still, it could never really pay for itself to run it the way you want to run it.
That's correct. And then you get a place like at Iowa now, like wrestling is big out there. They'll draw 12,000 for a wrestling match.
Now, that's sort of like hockey at our place.
That's right, and hockey at our place. We're, you know, we've got an excellent team. It's in a good league, and so we do draw people there. They're very enthusiastic about it.
What about the meeting in Chicago and saving money on football?
Well, I think they attempted to cut it some places. I don't know, Bo and I have talked about it, other people have talked about it, whether you've done it 100%, but I think you need a little bit more time to talk about these things and come up with what everybody thinks is a reasonably good way of doing it. And I think probably if they got around to some of the recruiting things, that if you start hitting there a little bit, I think would be more practical than, say, as Bo has talked about, traveling squads and things of that nature.
Right. Colorado coach is a little unhappy about being down to his last wingback at the end of his
Well, now you take, for example, the Missouri squad coming here without Galbraith. Maybe he couldn't have played anyway, but they couldn't afford to bring him. in case he could, even though all he had was a minor ankle sprain. He couldn't cut on Thursday, so they couldn't take a chance on bringing him, because if he couldn't play, that means that they may be short at another position.
If they had room for 5 or 6 more men on the
Sure.
roster, he'd have been there.
Even if he couldn't have played, it'd just been good for him to be there.
Don, a question about Saturday and the problem that arose. You had 100,000 happy people. You had about, what, 4,000 unhappy Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts that didn't get to sit down.
Yes, that was an unfortunate thing. The tickets were printed by, and I can't give the company, the exact company, but they were issued for the Missouri game and not for the Northwestern game, which was intended to. And Al Renfrew, our ticket manager, felt extremely bad. And what they tried to do in a bad situation was to say, youngsters, sit in the aisleway. And I know in my youth, and I know other people that have sat in aisleways, and I think that's the best of a bad thing. And I think they've extended an invitation to those same groups to come back for the Northwestern game. See, normally what we do is we'll have games that are not sellouts, and the high school students can go up and purchase a ticket for $3. And so and they extended an invitation to the Cub Scouts. So it was an unfortunate thing, and I hope that that they can appreciate what happened.
You didn't see those tickets that the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts had then until they began to show up at the game and get inside.
That's correct. And then Al was called, and what are you going to do? He talked to the ushers, he talked to the people, and said, here's something, and we just try to resolve it.
But you've invited them back for the Northwestern game.
That's correct, yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Don.